Oh, it's me then. So we're here. What has Stadia done now? And we are going to discuss what has been going on. I think there's been a bit going on, so let's see what the crack is. Good evening.
How are you doing?
I am outstanding as always here. It's another fun week, and we are doing what has Stadia done now. The joyfulness is coming right out for me at this moment in time.
It really is, isn't it? I think when that starts of the week, it's understandable. Oh dear.
Sorry, I have to get this ready here, just to make things a bit clearer here.
No worries. Well, whilst you're doing that to make things a bit clearer, I'm going to give everybody a quick rundown. I'm going to give everybody a quick rundown of how this evening's show is going to be structured. So, obviously, I dropped in the chat earlier that we are going to be talking about the pro games. We're going to be talking about the free weekends. And we're also going to be talking about the 2K thing from earlier in the week. Yeah, thanks for that. I was trying to gloss over it and carry on. What we will also be doing, though, is I think we did say on social media earlier in the week, we might be taking a slightly different tact with the What Has Stadia Done Now show. So title staying the same. Everything is pretty much staying the same in terms of talking about Stadia. What we are going to be doing, though, is one of us are going to be positive. So we're going to be pro Stadia. And this evening, that is Duncan. And then the other person is then going to be effectively the person who maybe looks at the more negative aspects of the Stadia work.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. What you're probably going to find out is where our opinions are probably going to be somewhere in the middle. We can, I will be being nice and positive tonight. It's not going to be a joyfulness, and Barry will be going, as he said, a bit more critical, with a more critical eye on things. But the reason why we're thinking of doing this is just to show where our thinking is and how we come to our decision making and our opinions on Stadia and where it is going, because we actually look at all sides of things going on here. So this should be a lot of fun.
It should. Should I get the tally chart already? Tommy's already said that your opinion's wrong.
Yes. According to Twitter, my opinion's always wrong.
Oh dear. Now.
How now, brown cow?
Apparently, we just have to suck these things up and get on with it. So
yeah, it's going to be a lot of funness, and it's again. I don't want to harp on the things, but a lot of things what we say, which are critical or what our opinions are, seem to be happening. So it isn't. We're just saying this for the fun of things. We could do a complete. Stadia is brilliant. Stadia is the love of everybody's life. Stadia is the best thing since sliced bread. But I just don't think that will be the right thing to do. However, this is why we are going to be doing the positive and the negative here tonight, and it is going to be interesting to see how this actually goes, because we haven't rehearsed this or anything.
Nope. In usual fashion, we do these things authentically. So kind of the arguments and the points raised that. And whatever you see this evening, one thing's for sure, you'll see a healthy discussion between the both of us, and we'll see how it goes. It should be an interesting experiment.
And we will also give what our opinions are at the end. So I think this should be interesting. So shall we kick things off?
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. Oh, do I have to?
Yes. There is no choice. There is no turning back. We've passed the point of no return. So
okay. Yes, I know. I was on mute. It's this keyboard now. At least I can blame the keyboard now. And yes, before just Tommy, just
Refund.
we have still got the refund video to pop up anytime we want. So what we will do here is, we normally had this show on a Monday, but we have now changed it to a Wednesday to go after the blog post on a Tuesday, so we don't have to guess and things like that. I'm just trying to find the flipping pro games here so I could actually bring that up.
The smack bang at the top of the blog post from yesterday.
Okay, so I don't need to go. Okay, we'll do this one first. Okay, it's I will share this. That's right, because it did them a bit strange last week. Where they actually announced things and then did the other, but we'll come on to that anyway. So we will share the screen here and we will get this going here. And there we go.
There we go.
So this week's or this month's pro games are Valkyria Chronicles 4. It came from outer space and 8 Hour Brains. I can't say it, that typing game.
Epistory.
Killer Queen Black and Grime. So I will go first. I think this is, I'll be nice and positive here. I think this is a great mix of games. I've seen out there in Twitterland, it's giving you about $150 worth of value, monetary value in the games. So, and again, there is some class games there. If you like games, I like the typing game. The typing game is actually a lot of fun. And Killer Queen Black is getting a lot of love out there in the Stadia community. So I think there is something for everybody to try. But the highlight of the month is probably Grime, because that's a day and date release straight into Pro. So it's an absolute you can't say no to that.
Nope.
Now here's the difficult thing. You have to go negative now. You go negative.
I know. I was about to say something, and I thought I can't say that technically by our rules. I have to be sitting on the other side of the fence. I mean, I think if you look probably through those the list of titles, probably say that what you are now seeing is some of the titles that have been brought this month are already in other subscriptions. So from a subscription perspective, they're not necessarily doing anything different to kind of what their competitors are doing. They're not really doing something that kind of makes them stand out, that says, actually, do you know what? Come and pay $8.99 a month for Pro and you can claim these games. I think I think I have to say there are titles that definitely, that we can acknowledge are good titles within there, but I don't think there's anything that if you're a Stadia centric gamer, and it is your main platform of choice, then that is, you will probably be at somewhat reasonably happy with that. But if we are looking at what we need to be doing in terms of attracting new players to the platform, if you look at those titles that they've just dropped as part of the subscription, I personally don't think there's anything there that screams come and sign up for Pro.
What about Grime? Grime is actually, as Tommy has said here, it's actually blowing up in Steam. It's been well reviewed out there, and it is absolutely doing so well. I know a lot of people are absolutely loving that. Would that not entice people to come on and give Stadia a try?
Given the fact that it's doing exceptionally well on Steam, I think your answer is no. Because it's in the Pro sub, you've got player numbers on Stadia who have already claimed it, but it's doing exceptionally well on Steam. So that would say to me that the people that are out there are either steering clear of it as a platform because of kind of what they've heard, negative press, everything that we become accustomed to hearing about Google. So I think the fact that it is doing so well elsewhere would say no, it's not enough of a draw to to kind of bring you into to the platform.
Yeah, even on top of these other games which are in Stadia Pro at the moment, because we've got an absolute ton of games in Stadia Pro.
Honestly, no, I don't think so. I genuinely don't think so. If I was to compare this in terms of, I don't want to compare specifically direct platform to platform, but let's go and look at what we've got from Pro this month to what we've got from PS Now this month, where we've got Ghost Runner, which is it's done exceptionally well, looks great. It's a totally different type of game. It's quite it's probably from that perspective would probably bring you more player numbers, and that's a game like that has a bit of a draw because you look at and you see Ghost Runner, wow, that's something that I kind of maybe want to jump into, or you've got stuff like Red Dead. If I've kind of stick with the PS Now side of things, you've got Red Dead that's there. There's something there that draws you in. Don't necessarily see that particularly with there.
Okay, so you still don't think there is anything there. I think there is games in the Stadia Pro lineup there which would get people interested in the service, but it's I don't think it was too bad of a month, with Grime actually being a day and date release. I don't think we can argue with that. Okay, before we go on to our next topic, again, we haven't really talked about this. Should we give what our opinions are after each topic? What our true opinions are?
Yeah, let's do that, and then at least we kind of break it down bit by bit, and then it's fresh in people's minds.
Yeah. So I will go first. I think it was an all right month for Pro. I don't think it was absolutely banging. I don't think it was absolutely terrible. I think it was just bang average. And the point that Barry brought up about the other games and the other platforms is there. Again, there's nothing really screaming out for me. I do like the Look of Grime because that was a day and date release, but a number of these are actually already in the other subscription sort of services, especially these two games here. But I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was great. I just think it was just bang in the middle.
Yeah, I think obviously from my personal opinion wise that like we're saying, we're covering that, I would have to agree. I think it is a middle of the road month, and as much as I kind of said when I was kind of looking at it from the negative perspective, the good side is if the games are out there and they're in the cloud, you've got people that are adopting cloud that are also adopting Stadia. That has to kind of be pointed out, I guess, on that front. It's not just, I'm thinking Valkyria Chronicles, because that's obviously in the Luna Plus channel. So you are seeing those developers kind of, if they're supporting one cloud, they're supporting multiple. The fact that it's in Luna Plus, the fact that it's in Stadia Pro, you've got a little bit of comparison there.
Yeah, and Killer Queen Black is in xCloud as well. Again, I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was. I don't think it was great either. I just think it was in the middle. What we should have covered there is the games leaving, and I think the big game leaving this month is PUBG and Stadia Pro, which I think is going to be a big miss because that's the perfect game for this new type of sub model, which Stadia is pushing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's taken obviously the title of longest Stadia Pro title, just as it leaves, but it's obviously got that mantle as the game that's been in Pro the longest. Of course, along the way, they removed the mouse and keyboard support for it because obviously you used to be able to play with mouse and keyboard players, and and then obviously kind of split off into the controllers. They kind of removed that, and then obviously the fact that now it's come off from Pro, I think is a shame. But we did a play along at the start of the year with it, and we had a hell of a lot of fun with it. So it's definitely a shame. But I guess as we have seen with some of the subscription setups, it's not necessarily you don't always see a game stay in a subscription for the entirety of that subscription. So
Yeah, and just to clarify our points a bit further, we play on multiple cloud systems. We are not Stadia specific. We play across PlayStation Now. We play GFN. We play on xCloud. We play across everything. If you are purely a Stadia gamer, and that is it. It wasn't, again, you probably say it was probably one of it was. For us, it was just bang average, but if you're a complete Stadia and that's all you're playing, it would probably be a good Stadia month for you. Would you? What would you say to that? If you're just looking through the eyes as a Stadia gamer?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I might have even said that earlier. Actually, if you are purely a Stadia gamer, then I think this month's Pro, you know, you'd be perfectly happy with.
Yes, indeed. So we'll move on to the next topic of the week, which is last week we had two games on free-to-play weekends, and Control dropped on to Stadia. So we'll just go through this quickly. So absolutely brilliant. Control has dropped on to Stadia. It's another game. It is another big game on the Stadia. It is a AAA game, and it has came on. And this is what we've been crying out for a long time: is these big AAA games to come onto Stadia. And if you haven't played it, I just screamed my thing at the end about my thing and memory games, because it is true. Or you can actually mention it, that's the thing. But it's the two games free to play at the weekend. Two completely different ends of the spectrum. We actually did a play along of the Olympic Games. We actually gave away 5 codes during that, which was a load of fun. And it's, again, not a bad game. And Avengers is Avengers. I think if you played it right, you might have been able to complete the single player mode over the weekend if you were playing it on Stadia there. So it is ready to go. And again, I actually don't mind Avengers, even though it's a kiddies game. And it's sorry, where's my banner? Where's my banner? I have to get my banner on. It was a joke. And it again, I think that it's actually good to see that Stadia is bringing these games. Okay, now negative, Barry.
Okay, I think first up with Control. I think that the one thing that we have to say is, you know, comparison-wise and performance-wise, it does not look brilliant. I think if you see the stills and the screenshots and the way that game is running, I think it exposes there's one or two things here. Either developers haven't put enough time into kind of polishing it enough for the platform in the Stadia port, which isn't necessarily great because they've not necessarily put maximum energy into it. But I don't want to be unfair to devs. It could be the other way around, and it could be the fact that the platform itself, just literally the architecture of the platform, just cannot stretch to produce any better out of Control than what it's done. Because I think if we look at it on merit, where it is, Control's probably on Stadia has performed the worst in terms of graphical fidelity and the way it's run out of any of the other platforms. And I would even include the Switch version with the cloud. I've played the Switch version, as have I played kind of some of the other versions, and it sticks out like a sore thumb that it can't deliver. Unfortunately, and it's a shame as well, because with it being the Ultimate Edition, the Ultimate Edition elsewhere gives you the ray tracing, gives you all the the nice touches, the little bells and whistles, and it's just missing. And the other thing as well is that I think from a publisher perspective, they completely priced it wrong. They know what the draw of Control or a Remedy game is, and they've tried to cash in on it. When bringing it into Stadia, when we know that it's been free on Epic, So, you've been able to play it on other cloud platforms for free. You've been able to pick it up for £10-15. It's in other subs. So, that for me as a title should have been much bigger. I don't want to say much bigger, but I think it should have delivered more than I think it has. I think they've tried to land something there in the sense of being able to say we've got control, and they've not just quite landed the punch with what they've delivered, unfortunately. Free to play weekends, biggest criticism for that has to be the fact that again, if you're in the Stadia community and you are a Stadia gamer, shall we say, chances are you've got a pro sub. A lot of people do. They've locked the free to play weekends. They've locked them behind that subscription, which means that you're not really, aside if somebody's signing up, to pay, to play, under as a pro subscriber. You're not actually giving people. You're making it difficult for people to actually come out and try the service. A free weekend is a perfect opportunity to say, do you know what? We're going to unleash the shackles and have these games free to play, and then we'll try and see if we can attract more gamers. Whereas in actual fact, what we've said is we're going to have a free to play weekend, but only if you're a subscriber. And that sets for me, it sets the wrong tone. But it's good. I can't say that because I'm not allowed. I'm supposed to be I'm supposed to be on the other side of the fence, so you can take over.
Yeah, what I'll say is I have absolutely no problem with it being locked behind Pro, because there's another Pro benefit. And it's a Pro benefit, that is why you're subscribing to Pro, but it is great. Nobody can argue about free-to-play weekends in the cloud generally, because it is, you can just jump in and you can play the games, no downloads, you can just jump straight into things. Okay. Shackles are off. We are now just talking as ourselves. We have done our good cop, bad cop carry on. I think this was a complete another mistake, dropping Control the time they did, and at the price it did. I know Stadia doesn't set the price, it is developers setting the price. It has just drawn attention to where Stadia is at this moment in time. We have Luna starting to implement ray tracing. We have JFN. This is a JFN game with ray tracing. The game, while it looks like it's playable and most people seem to, a lot of people are enjoying it, there has been a hell of a lot of complaints about Control out there and the way it has been brought to Stadia. I don't think it's lazy ports, as people say. I absolutely despise that sort of language, lazy ports, because of its time, effort, from what they're going to get. So if they put a lot of time and effort into that, costs money, if they're not going to get all their money back. So it's a balancing act. Developers are not bringing games to Stadia just for them to run poorly and not run well. That is, I've seen some tinfoil hat sort of stuff out there where developers have been saying that they said developers are bringing poor ports to Stadia just to get Stadia to fail. It's not to do that. There is a multitude of reasons for that, and then what I'm hoping down the line is when these new porting tools come into place, that some developers might actually go back and maybe try and get the games running a bit better if it's actually to do with the porting process. So the price was interesting. I thought it was nailed on to be a pro game, or if it wasn't going to be a pro game, it was going to have an absolutely steep discount, because you can go play that on other platforms because they're part of the subscription, or free, or it's been given away free, because Remedy games, I will say it, are games everybody wants to play. Everybody gets in their library at some stage and they still don't play them. It's one of these, it's the guilty secret games where people actually buy it, don't play it, and forget about them, that you've actually got it. So I think it was just a mistake, Control coming this week. or over the last week to Stadia. I just think the timing was wrong. It probably should have been pushed out a bit more, just to get a bit more distance, and that would, because it is just shining that light onto it.
Yeah, I am. There's nothing you said there that really I can kind of disagree with. The one thing I will obviously say is now that we've taken those shackles of the rules off. Yes, although I did say about the devs, and the port. I know, just as you've said, that is not likely to have been the case, because it's not in anybody's interest, to kind of do that sort of thing, despite what does get said. I did throw that one in that particular instance on purpose, because I know it flies around quite a bit. But yeah, I think that you are right. I think that the timing was wrong, having been free elsewhere, included in subs, and people obviously have been talking about next gen updates, for consoles and that sort of stuff. There's a lot out there about how it plays, how it looks, and it has just been very unfortunate that I think it has maybe kind of highlighted a little bit of a weak spot, maybe in terms of how that run or how it should have looked, because I've played it on GFN. As I said, I've played it on a couple of platforms. I know how it should look, and I've seen people play it on Stadia, and it is a million miles away from where it should be.
Yeah, and Game Tech Planet is going to be putting out a video, and you can see it playing as day, where the Stadia version is compared to all the other ones. It looks like it's in last place. And it's, again, his video is going to just highlight all that, and it's just really interesting, the timing and the actual quality of the port. And there's another free-to-play game this weekend in Far Cry 5. What's your take on that?
Shackled take or actual take?
Actual take, because it's more free to play games.
Yeah, I'd probably say. I mean, I think it's they're clearly trying to mix it up and have a little bit of variety. We've obviously had Borderlands. We've obviously just had Avengers. I think the thing to take from it is it's the second consecutive free to play weekend, which is good. I think at the timing that it is as well, at that August point, kind of like maybe some of the thinking, in the sense that I'm hoping they've engaged their brains in thinking, well, Far Cry 6 is a couple of months away. We know there's a lot of hype around that. So therefore, kind of, we'll give you Far Cry 5 for a free-to-play weekend. Dive in. You might then think about either subscribing to Ubi Plus to then play the rest, or, you may well then be looking at Far Cry 6, which could be further expenditure further down the line.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a slight tangent in here. That's very, very. We said we didn't want to do these tangents, but it's a slight one. I am worried that Far Cry 6 now is going to get delayed, just because of the X-Defiant. We also have Halo. We also have Battlefield. We also have Call of Duty coming out there. From a Stadia perspective, from a pure Stadia perspective, Far Cry 6 coming at that time, when it's due to come out, is going to be absolutely fine. But in the wider gaming space, if Far Cry 6 comes out at that time, it may end up getting lost. So I'm half expecting it to be pushed, or X-Defiant pushed, one of them, because I think it's going to be too much, and then it's going to have the knock-on effect on the Rainbow Six Extraction. Ubisoft seem to be a very FPS heavy at this moment. I know they're slightly different types of games, but essentially they're FPS games, so they're going to be all fighting for the same thing.
Yeah. That is a good shout. I mean, I think I've been saying for a number of weeks at least, I don't think Far Cry 6 is gonna get pushed. I think personally, I think it is going to be that title that they want to land at that point in the year. And yeah, you are right. They are going up against some competition in there, because I think we've also got around about the same sort of time as well. Of course, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy, which is going to be dropping. Which depended on kind of what preference of franchise you might have. there's certainly a lot of options there for you to say, well, actually, I'm going to play that instead of, that over Far Cry 6 or, or something else.
Yeah, I think that is going to be a title that we are going to have a wee look at now. Okay, we will come on to the fun topic now. We will talk about 2K. Okay. 2K has dropped their investors call earlier in the week on Monday. And they mentioned Stadia during the documents, and they have a Stadia logo there. They're talking about subscriptions. They're talking about cloud gaming. So everything is fine and dandy. They are still got Stadia in their thoughts, and everything's looking fine there. Barry,
is that you finished? Is it?
Yes.
I'm going to somewhat suggest that maybe if you'd been Mr. Bad Cop tonight, that your little segment might have gone on for a bit longer there.
I think your little segment's going to go on for a little bit. Yeah. 2K is still supporting Stadia. That we still got NBA. We've still got Red Dead. Red Dead is still getting updated on Stadia. We're still getting the updates to Borderlands 3. So they are still supporting Stadia. The statement on Monday and the documentation is not saying anything to counter that either. There are still updates going on. And it's good to actually see that Stadia was actually mentioned in with a logo there.
Okay. I mean, I think personally, well, no, actually, not personally, because obviously we're Bad Cop at the moment, so not personally. But it may have been on page 29, but I think that's more a case of the fact that there's a platform where we exist because in part of our earnings that we have been there, so we kind of have to say that we've put games onto that service. I think when you look at the fact that yes, that the word is there, but we've come out of the back of an investors call where they have a new basketball franchise, multiple other games, and not a single mention of those games look like they're coming to Stadia.
Just because it hasn't been listed doesn't mean it's not coming.
But that's the kind of thing that gets us into trouble. If it is not listed or it is not announced, then it's not officially even a consideration or a platform that's out there in the wild. If they are putting down on there that it is coming out on next-gen consoles, X, Y, and Z, and you have not got Stadia in there, then it's officially not even a consideration because the official published platforms are the ones that they have put out. They have said that it is coming to. And let's not forget, we've got the head of 2K, who you look at his comments towards Stadia in the past, clearly does not think too kindly of it as a platform. The games that have been on there, we obviously had NBA 2K21, but it didn't get updated for absolutely ages. It was an absolute country mile. They brought the game to the platform, but then there were kind of game-breaking bugs. There were things that were in there that were a real annoyance, and there were people that paid good money to pay NBA on there, and there's no updates.
But the games got fixed. The games got fixed eventually. They did get fixed, and NBA is continuing to get updates. Our Red Dead Online is constantly getting their updates, so they're definitely out there supporting Stadia.
That's got that. Unfortunately, if they're bringing games to the title, they'll be contractually obliged to ensure that they bring updates. Obviously, yes, they've done it in not particularly in a timely fashion, but for me as a gamer, if a game doesn't get updated that regularly, you're going to put it down and you're going to stop playing it. And that is dangerous.
Okay, we will get off the fence now. First of all, I do not know why this actually blew up much bigger than it did yesterday. It's an absolute. I find it hysterical in some instances that this got blown up just because there were. I tweeted out that here's the list of the games. It's not coming, and things have just kicked on from there. I think NBA is not coming to Stadia unless there is a hastily, swiftly brought together deal, and they can easily port it across because. It was on the last press releases. When the game was released last year, it was their day and date on the press releases ready to go. We've seen over the last year that TK has treated Stadia shabbily. They just haven't put the love into Stadia. You mentioned the patches were late. There's games not coming. The big talking point game for me, it isn't some of these other games which haven't came. It is Red Dead Online. The spin-off, the Red Dead Redemption 2, did not come to Stadia as a standalone version. And I'm going, why is that? That is an absolute shambles. That is, it's just going, what is going on there? And I think that for me was a big game to say there's something not 100% going on here. NBA not coming. I think the American audience has woke up to realize that these yearly franchises really, really matter. We have been crying. We got slated. We got shamed for saying about F1. We got shamed and shouted at for saying about Formula One, or for Football Manager as well. We got laughed at. And we made fun of ourselves for talking about MotoGP as well. These annual franchises, annual sports games not coming back are going to be a big miss. I really, really hope that NBA comes to Stadia because it is so important for the American market, but it doesn't look like 2K are playing ball at this moment in time, and it is a definite worry. Along with looks like EA aren't playing ball either. That doesn't mean to say that they're not going to come back, but I think it's going to take a sizable shift for them to come back.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the, probably ironically, one of the big surprises for me, which if I think back to E3, was Tinytinas Wonderland. We've had Borderlands 3 on Stadia, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much since launch. I've got a funny feeling it was a launch title, actually. And it's had free weekends, it's kind of had good sales. Obviously, when you take it out of and put it into kind of performance mode, it runs really well. And I think it's the Borderlands kind of world is something which is a lot of people have got a lot of love for it. So it really surprised me to see in particular that Tinytinas Wonderland is not coming. You start to couple with that with some of the others, some of those yearly franchises. We've got, if we look at golf, we look at basketball. You mentioned Red Dead Online. There are, there's a number of titles there that you kind of look at and you just think, they should be there. And, I get the fact that they are not necessarily available on every other platform, and that doesn't necessarily mean that kind of it's negative. Like you said, they could come back, just because they exit, it doesn't, or if they do exit, obviously there's no kind of guarantee that, they are exiting. Certainly it looks at this moment like they are easing their support for the platform. I think that's fair to say, because that on paper, there's nothing coming to Stadia in the latest round of games that they have launched as it stands right now. It doesn't look great when you've got the person at the top being negative And if the person at the top is the one that pulls the strings, you've got to count the pennies to count the pounds. You're going to go and see where your income is coming from. They know which games are the ones that earn them, but they also know, and they clearly said that they want to put investment, and see growth in being in kind of those subscriptions and cloud stroke streaming. But look at the other the other platforms that were mentioned alongside that in, Xbox Game Pass, and then obviously, PS Now. That's an indication of where where some of their biggest chunk of money is coming from. And I think from a Stadia perspective, you remove those games, you remove another portion of the audience from being able to buy those games, which means they're not spending money on Stadia, which then, if 2K is your jam and that's kind of what you tend to play and you can't buy it on Stadia, then you start looking elsewhere and you think, well, actually, where else am I going to play my games? And that is it, that's a problem. You've always got that issue, when kind of publishers miss out on titles, and when you kind of people's interest get detracted from another platform. I think specifically with 2K, one of the other kind of platforms that comes up at a tremendous amount is GFN, because obviously they were there, at the point that they were in beta, and then they kind of disappeared. They've kind of gone along with, a number of other, publishers. Now, obviously, we've seen how kind of that's come along as a platform. And we've also seen this week that it's, from their perspective, it's a matter of when, not if, as to when some of those publishers who left at the end of beta start coming back to the service. So we can clearly see, a withdrawal at this stage doesn't mean that they will never come back, because I think what you are going to see is, maybe the cloud gaming kind of market share needs to kind of grow a bit, so that they can actually see that they can make a substantial amount of revenue. Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to those pounds and pennies. And if there's work involved in getting the game to the platform, which we know that there is, there's potentially a large opportunity for the fact that they could well be losing revenue, and it could almost be kind of losing them an element of money by bringing it to a particular platform.
Yes, it's the GFN news is right to bring up. For people who don't seen that, go check out the PC Gamer. They have came out and said it's a matter of when these other games come back rather than if. Regarding the 2K stuff, looking like they're retreating somewhat, I think sometimes you need to come back and look at this from 1,000 feet away. And this is what we try and do. And we try and look at the positive and we try and look at the negative. I think we've been trying to show that tonight. With the 2K pulling back here, this isn't the first developer and publisher which has pulled back. The Stadia seem to be losing 2K here, or Take-Two. Sorry, they're losing Take-Two, or Take-Two is withdrawing and pulling back support. EA seem to be doing the same, because none of the new EA games have been listed. The one which keeps on getting forgotten about because Microsoft bought them is Bethesda. Bethesda were a massive supporter of Stadia in the early days, and they're gone now, because obviously Microsoft won't put the new stuff onto a competing service. If they're not going to put it on PlayStation, they're not going to put it onto Stadia, and I think that's a fair thing to say. There's so many of these big developers and publishers are walking away, either through choices of their own or they're being bought. This is why we've been yapping on about the consolidation which has been going on in the market with Microsoft are doing it, PlayStation are doing it, EA are doing it, Activision are doing it. People are getting bought up all over the show, and this is going to cause issues for everybody down the line. And it's just really fascinating to watch the whole market play. So if 2K are withdrawing, more or less, it seems to be going to be an Ubisoft platform with some indie games, with the sprinkling of maybe some Namco Bandai games, maybe some Capcom games here and there. that seems to be where Stadia seems to be going. Again, it's something we've been talking about for such a long time now. It is just something to keep an eye on. And with the new business model, that is going to attract more indies than it is the big developers, unless there's actual other sort of deals brought into play. Back a couple of months ago, we were on here as Playing As Day saying I'm not worried about FIFA or Madden coming. The number one game to watch is NBA 2K22 because that is going to be the bellwether of where Stadia is in the grander scheme of things. We said this multiple times. It's been on Twitter multiple times. And I think we're beginning to see where the lay of the land is. If it does not come, there is still the possibility that it will come. But if it is coming, Stadia and 2K need to really start communicating, because just like we see with the F1 situation, we are seeing people make their plans about jumping to a different platform to play NBA, because it is a game that people buy in year after year, and these are the games that you need. It's just like F1 was growing there. It was laying the foundations there, and people were playing and starting the leagues, and you're sowing with the NBA leagues as well, with people playing in I forget the actual word because I don't play it, the neighborhood or whatever it's called. There, you have people doing that sort of stuff. It is going to be real interesting going forward just to see this. Again, it's just what do we do? It's I want to see something coming out from Stadia, from themselves, to not talking to the devs and talking to us, the general public who play the games, just to say what is going on, because we are seeing, if you look what's coming to xCloud in the next couple of weeks and in the next couple of months, you've got GFN getting day and date releases on a weekly basis now and dropping 10, 20 games a week. You've got Luna ticking along in their subscription model, half the price of Stadia, but they've got so many of the Stadia library in that subscription service. So we just need to see what is going to go on with Stadia.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the thing. It is a wait and see, but I think you have to ask yourself the question as gamers, if I see a game that I want to play and somebody tells me it's on X, Y, and Z platform, I'm not going to sit there for 9 months in the lead up to that game coming out, tapping my desk, going, I'll just wait until it comes out. I'll just wait until it's launched, because they might announce it then. If it wasn't announced, and I know there have been some, shadow drops, shall we say, as they like to do, but if you're a gamer, which, as I say, we all are, you want to enjoy these titles. You want to be able to get pre-orders in. You want to be able to make decisions and budget and this, that, and the other, because, as much as we all love to play games, not necessarily the budgets aren't necessarily infinite for everybody, and you can't pick everybody up. Can't pick everything up either at launch. You can't maybe pick up more than 2, 3, 4 day and date releases in a particular month. You need to kind of be able to to plan it out, and that is one of the things for me at the moment with when they don't announce things as coming to the platform, it does cause people to look elsewhere. Because if you want to, and we have seen it, and I know you touched on some of the franchises earlier, some of these franchises have people locked in and they will go and play it elsewhere, and that's that is a I don't want to say it's a slippery slope, but it is a path fraught with danger, because, as I say, when you start to break away from your buying habits and you form new buying habits, then your old buying habits kind of get left behind, and then that means people aren't spending money on that platform,
which continues the.
Yep, it's a snowball, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. What I will say is the good thing about cloud gaming is if you leave, you can come back straight away again because there is no hardware and anything to the side. Again, just standing back and looking from about 1,000,000,000,000,000 feet away, you just see a broader picture and things which you may have forgot about. When you actually bring them up again, it just paints pictures, maybe painting pictures we want to see, and there may be painting pictures you want to see, but there is lots going on there. One thing I just want to add into this, sometimes we get privy to some information which we can't actually go forward with and we can't actually talk about. For example, over the last couple of weeks, we actually found out about some of the news which came out months ago, which is actually just came. We actually knew for months what was sort of going on behind the scenes, and unfortunately, we can't talk about some of the stuff we do when we can.
Yeah, and I think that is, I think that's an important point for you to make, because I think sometimes I'm sure probably people just sit here and think we're blowhards and we're kind of talking about things for the sake of things, but there's always a degree of underlying knowledge or something there in kind of a lot of the things that we say. But we obviously can't, we can't talk about it because the one thing that we can't afford to do, whilst we talk about remaining true to ourselves and feeling that that's the right thing, we maybe can't undermine the trust of kind of some of the areas where some of those information that, in those different tidbits have come from. We can't really kind of be in a position where we kind of jeopardize that, because you only have to kind of break that sort of rule once, and that's it. You kind of don't get any information from anybody, because you know that the people know that you kind of won't keep those sorts of things to yourself. I think Duncan's looking behind his monitor for the mute button.
No, it's camera falling.
You caught it.
Yeah, I called it. My camera was covering the tab I was at because I was just giving some information there, which I will discuss with you afterwards.
No worries.
But everything is fine. I hope tonight maybe showed some people our thought processes when we actually go through things. We do look at the positive, we do look at the negative. Love to hear your feedback on how this has actually went, the good cop, bad cop, just to see how we can plan this going forward, because maybe it does give a completely sort of different dynamic, which people may not may want to see. So I think that's basically us.
I think it is.
Our half-an-hour show only went 55 minutes.
Wow, there we go. That's not like us at all, is it?
Yeah. But again, thank you all for in the chat. And more bad Barry is wanted. Barry doesn't... I'm not being bad cop every week, because I think it's not fair to have one person be bad cop every week.
Exactly, and that's why we said what we did, wasn't it?
Yeah. So if we continue this next week, we're going to talk about this internally and get people's feedback, and we will we'll see how it goes. And if we do it next week, I will be bad cop and I will be really bad cop. So there you go.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
I think that goes without saying.
Yes. So we will see you again, and hit like if you haven't already, or hit down, or downvote it, as many people done. So, but I've got an idea here.
Either one helps, because it shows that it's interesting. So go for your life.
Yep, exactly. So see you next time. Bye.
Bye.